Marcus, my husband, had wasted no time in ushering his new intern, Luna, into the company's most exclusive program the moment she stepped through the doors, all because she bore an unsettling resemblance to the ghost of his first love, a specter I had long grown weary of competing with. At the celebration party, he guided her with possessive ease into the seat that was meant to be mine. With a smile that never quite reached his eyes when directed at me, he introduced her to the room of executives. "This is our new intern," he announced, voice slick with pride. "She possesses far more nerve, more audacity, to make these kinds of selections than my wife ever did." And then, as if stripping me of my last claim to our shared life, he handed her the keys to our joint investment account, a training exercise. He called it a test of her financial instinct and courage. When I dared ask where the money had gone, he stepped in front of her, a human shield for a stranger, and his words fell like ice. "She invested in a few projects through the selection program. Practice. What does it matter if we lost a little? You never had her discernment to begin with." Later that night, when I finally dragged myself home, the scene that greeted me was a violation I could scarcely process. There Luna lay, draped in my favorite silk nightgown, languid and possessive on the bed Marcus and I shared, and he was beside her, tilting my most cherished bottle of red wine to her lips as though anointing a queen. When his eyes found mine in the doorway, his expression didn't soften. It tightened with impatience. "She's afraid of the dark," he said, as if explaining something simple to a stubborn child. "Couldn't sleep alone in the guest room. You'll manage there for the night. Don't make this about bickering with an intern." I held his gaze, my silence louder than his excuses. So this was the same Luna. Bold in the boardroom, timid in the shadows. My skin crawled as I watched her recline there, a silken predator in the heart of my sanctuary. But when I spoke, my voice was steel-wrapped in silk. "Marcus," I said, low and unwavering, "this is our marital bed." And in that moment, something shifted. Not in him, but in me. The foundations of what I had called my marriage began to quietly, irrevocably dissolve. "Are you really asking me, your legitimate wife, to move to the guest room for her?" Marcus, still feeding her red wine, impatiently frowned at my words. "She was exhausted from making the selections today and is afraid of the dark as the lady of the house. Why are you quibbling with an intern? Be more magnanimous. Don't make things difficult for me." I said nothing more, just nodded silently, then turned and retrieved my own pillow and blanket from the closet. He assumed I had conceded, and his expression softened considerably as he continued pouring wine for Luna. As I walked to the door, dragging my suitcase, my phone immediately rang. "Grace, how dare you go to a hotel? Are you trying to make a spectacle of me for the entire company to see?" I hung up the phone, my heart utterly desolate. Luna was the cousin of his deceased first girlfriend. Because of her strong resemblance, he cherished her. He always said that looking at her was like seeing a reflection of his past, but he forgot that it was I, Grace, who had stood by him and built everything from nothing to where he was today. It was my soft-heartedness that made me agree to let her join the company in the first place. Marcus had said he just wanted to make up for his past regrets by helping a deceased friend's relative. At the time, I even thought he was a man of integrity and loyalty. That so-called exclusive program was just a gimmick. Marcus had come up with Luna, an intern who couldn't even read a financial report, convinced the company to invest in a project simply by drawing a tattered card that said, "Go or go." It was a stroke of blind luck, and they made a fortune at the celebration party. Marcus publicly made me get up from the seat next to him and let Luna sit down instead. Raising his wine glass, he loudly announced, "This success is all thanks to Luna's daring, far better than some people who are overly cautious and obsessed with data." All eyes pierced me like needles. I remembered when we first started the business, he ate cheap instant meals for a month just to save enough to buy me a laptop, but now for another woman he could so easily trample on all my efforts and dignity. I forced myself to sleep for a few hours, then returned to the company the next day with swollen eyes, knowing there was a tough battle ahead. As I stepped out of the elevator, I saw a crowd of employees gathered around Marcus and Luna in the company lobby, and praise and flattery echoed through the hall. In the center of their circle, a brand new red sports car was displayed. Luna was excitedly touching the steering wheel while employees laddered. "Mr. Marcus is so good to miss." Luna, suppressing a pang of pain, I walked forward and reminded him. Marcus, are you ready for the 9 o'clock client meeting? Marcus, who hadn't seen me all night, was about to lash out, but, seeing the client's name, he held back. He wrapped an arm around Luna's shoulder and said to me, "This is my reward for Luna." She was startled yesterday as a vice. Don't always focus on intern matters, be more broad-minded, he spoke, with full justification, as if the car hadn't been bought with our shared marital funds. Several department managers, who usually love to flatter, immediately chimed in. Exactly. Grace, it's good that Mr. Marcus cares for new employees. She's just an intern. You shouldn't stoop to bickering with her. I scoffed. Without the initial investment I secured back then, and without the deals I closed pulling all-nighters, Marcus' company would have collapsed long ago. Marcus, feeling he was publicly embarrassed by me, his face turned ashen. He grabbed my wrist and dragged me into the office. I thought he was finally going to explain himself. To my surprise, he threw me into the office and then locked the door from the outside. I hit the door panel, a dull ache throbbing in the back of my head. He actually locked me in just to stop me from seeing that important client. Marcus opened the door. I pounded on the door panel, my palms red from hitting it. From outside the door, Luna's sweet voice drifted in. Grace, stop yelling. Marcus has already gone downstairs to pick up Mr. Hayes. I'll be joining them soon. He told me to tell you to stay here and reflect on yourself. I froze. Mr. Hayes was notoriously known for prioritizing personal connections over company ties in the industry, and he had specifically requested me for the negotiations this time. Marcus actually let Luna go, an intern who couldn't even understand contract terms. Had he lost his mind? I forced myself to calm down, softening my voice as I pleaded with her. Luna, please open the door. This isn't a joke. It will destroy the company. She chuckled softly from outside the door. Grace, Marcus said, this is called daring, not like you. Always hesitant and fearful about everything you do. She kept calling him Marcus, her voice intimate and close. I was locked in the office all day without a drop of water. The physical hunger was nothing compared to the despair in my heart. It wasn't until darkness completely fell outside that I finally heard footsteps and voices from beyond the door. I heard Luna's aggrieved voice say, Marcus, it's all my fault. I messed up the contract negotiations. It must be because Grace didn't hand over the preliminary work properly, which caused Mr. Hayes to misunderstand us. I was trembling with rage, but gently comforted her. It's not your fault. You're still a child, and just having the courage to negotiate was impressive, unlike some people who just hide and throw a tantrum. He paused, then added, Luna, it's so good to have you here. Immediately after, rustling sounds and Luna's soft gasps emanated from outside the door. Marcus, the privilege card I drew today says it gives her one special privilege with you. Suggestive breathing sounds drifted through the door. I grabbed the crystal trophy from the desk and threw it with all my might at the door panel. With a loud crash, the sounds from outside stopped abruptly. Only then did Marcus remember me. He muttered curses as he opened the door, seeing the utter mess outside and his disheveled clothes. I smiled. He instinctively tugged at his wrinkled shirt, avoiding my gaze, and asked, What's wrong with you? I was just teaching Luna how to prevent workplace bullying. Luna hid behind him, her cheeks flushed, a smirk of triumph playing on her lips. I stared into his eyes and asked, enunciating each word, Marcus, you destroyed a project I had prepared for half a year just to make selections with her. Do you have a New York idea what that means? Marcus's face alternated between red and pale. Seeing this, Luna immediately peeked out from behind him and asked aggrievedly, Grace, how can you blame Marcus? You were the one who hid in the office and refused to negotiate. Marcus immediately pointed his finger at me and yelled, Grace, now you're disregarding the company's interests just to spite me. I must have been blind to make you vice. As soon as the words left his mouth, I raised my hand and slapped Luna. Marcus reacted quickly, shoving me violently. My lower back slammed hard against the corner of the office desk. He didn't even glance at me, instead anxiously cupping Luna's face tenderly, blowing on it. Does it hurt? Let me see. 3. I steadied myself by holding on to the desk and smiled. Mr. Marcus, when she's making selections, she's a bold adult, but when she gets slapped, she turns into a child who needs your Protection your rules are certainly. Flexible Marcus's face flushed crimson, veins throbbing, and he erupted in exasperated rage. How could I have married such a spiteful woman? With that, he bent down, scooped Luna into his arms, and walked out of the office. Without a backward glance, Luna lay in his arms, looking over his shoulder at me, her eyes filled with triumphant defiance. The door slammed shut, plunging the entire office into silence. I tidied my clothes, preparing to go home for the last time. I had just reached my car and hadn't even opened the door when two dark figures rushed out from behind me. A rough burlap sack was violently pulled over my head, and I was roughly shoved into a van. I don't know how long passed before the vehicle finally stopped. I was dragged out of the van, and the sack was yanked off my head. Marcus was leaning against a black sedan, smoking. Luna was nestled beside him. I finally understood that this had all been orchestrated by them. Marcus. Luna's sweet voice drifted. Will hate me. I just wanted her to apologize. Marcus stubbed out his cigarette and told the two burly men my wife isn't in a good mood today. Help her calm down. His voice was terrifyingly calm. Marcus. I looked at his cruel face, tasting blood in my mouth. After all we've been through as husband, do you really have to be so ruthless? He merely smiled, his expression cruel. Grace, you forced my hand. Didn't you always say I was unruly? Today I'll show you what my rules are. One of the burly men walked towards me, reaching out to tear my shirt. Marcus didn't stop him. He simply reached out and covered Luna's eyes, saying, "Don't look, it's too disgusting to see," but struggled in his arms, saying excitedly and maliciously, "No, I want to learn." Just as the burly man's hand was about to touch me, Marcus suddenly spoke. "Stop." He looked coldly at my disheveled state and said to Luna, "See, this is what happens when you don't obey." He was making an example out of me, and I was the example. He led Luna to the nearby sports car, and soon the vehicle began to rock rhythmically. Luna deliberately rolled down the window, and her sharp laughter and suggestive moans pierced the night sky. I closed my eyes, refusing to listen to those disgusting sounds. After a long while, Luna emerged from the car, wearing the Chanel jacket Marcus had given me for our wedding anniversary. Marcus followed her, carefully zipping up her jacket and gently saying, "The wind is strong tonight, don't catch a cold." Marcus seemed pleased with my resigned expression, and he praised Luna. "See, she's much more obedient now, isn't she? You're still the clever one. Consider this a lesson for you today," Marcus said to me condescendingly. "Stay here and endure the cold wind, and think carefully about where you went wrong. Tomorrow morning I'll send a car to pick you up." He put his arm around Luna as they prepared to get into the car. Luna tentatively asked, "Marcus, will you still be with Grace in the future?" For I heard Marcus all silent for a moment. "She is my wife, that will never change." He wasn't saying that for Luna's benefit, he was saying it for mine. All he wanted was my status as his wife. My stomach turned violently, and I felt so nauseous I almost threw up. With my last ounce of strength, I slammed my head into the jaw of the burly man behind me. The moment he cried out in pain and released me, I kicked the other man in the groin, then sprinted towards their car and fled the area. I didn't go home. Instead, I went straight to the hospital. When the doctor handed me the lab results, confirming I was 4 weeks pregnant, I still clung to a ridiculous fantasy. Clutching that paper, I went to our new home, the one we had promised to grow old and together. For the sake of this unborn child, I wanted to make one last attempt at reconciliation, but the moment I opened the door with my fingerprint, that fantasy shattered. Luna was wearing my favorite silk night gown, directing workers to move out the furniture I had personally chosen. Piece by piece, she saw me and, acting like the mistress of the house, said, "Grace." Marcus said, "I just graduated and need a house, so this villa is mine now." This home was designed by me from the foundation to the decor. I poured my heart and soul into every detail. Marcus walked down the stairs with red-rimmed eyes. I held the lab results up to him, my voice trembling. "Marcus, look closely. I'm pregnant. Make her leave. Can't we just have a good life together from now on?" Luna shrieked dramatically upon hearing this, hiding behind Marcus. "Marcus, don't you dare believe her. She was abducted by those two men just 2 nights ago. Who knows whose bastard is in her belly?" The word bastard extinguished the last flicker of hesitation in Marcus' eyes. His face instantly contorted into a smear. He snatched the lab results from my hand, tearing them to shreds, and pointed at my nose, yelling, "Grace, you disgust me. You think you can tie me down with S? Oh, bastard child whose father is unknown." He tore the lab results to pieces. He grabbed my arm, trying to drag me outside. I clung desperately to the railing of the spiral staircase on the second floor, crying out, "This is my home. The baby is yours. You can't do this to me." I had personally designed the staircase, having imagined our child playing and laughing here countless times. Get out. My struggle completely enraged him. "Luna," suddenly shrieked Marcus, "she's trying to push me." Marcus's eyes blazed red. He used all his strength and violently shoved me down the stairs. I tumbled down more than a dozen cold, hard marble staircase steps. An agonizing, cramping pain tore through my lower abdomen. Immediately, a warm liquid gushed from between my legs, staining the floor beneath me crimson. I lost my baby. I lay in a pool of blood, looking up at the man on the stairs. The shock in his eyes lasted only a second before being replaced by cruelty and disgust. He looked at my terrible condition and coldly said to the terrified workers nearby, "She slipped and fell on her own. It's a bad omen. Throw her along with this garbage out." He didn't even call for an ambulance. Instead, he turned and embraced the tear-streaked to Luna, gently patting her back. "It's all right. Don't be afraid." The pain was so intense that my consciousness began to blur. The last thing I saw was Luna's defiant smile. "Marcus, if I survive this, I swear you and she will pay for this bloodshed." Chapter 25. By the time I was taken to the hospital, I had lost too much blood and fallen into a coma. When I woke up, it was 3 days later. "Miss Grace, you're finally awake." The nurse walked into the room. "You lost too much blood. We almost didn't save you." "Also," she paused, "you lost your baby." I already knew that. Excruciating pain still throbbed faintly deep in my lower abdomen. "Your husband hasn't been here, but a Mr. Miller, a lawyer, has been waiting for you to wake." Miller, I remember. Then he was my best friend, Sarah's brother, a top-tier lawyer specializing in marital property disputes. Soon Mr. Miller pushed the door open and entered, seeing my pale face. A flicker of anger crossed his eyes. "Grace," Sarah told me, "what happened to you?" Mr. Miller sat by the bed. "Have you thought it through now? Are you still going to torture yourself for a man like that?" I closed my eyes, remembering Marcus's blazing red eyes when he pushed me down the stairs, and how coldly he watched me lie in a pool of blood. "Mr. Miller, I want a divorce." "Good." He opened his briefcase. "I've already prepared all the documents. I've clearly organized the division of your marital assets." Looking at the thick stack of documents, I finally felt a sense of reassurance. "Marcus probably won't agree." "It doesn't matter if he doesn't agree." Mr. Miller sneered. "Grace, did you know with your company's current shareholding structure, you are actually the majority shareholder?" "What do you mean?" "When the company was first established, it was your money that was invested and the shares were registered in your name. Later, to show your trust in him, you transferred your shares to him for a nominal price of $1. However, Mr. Miller took out a document. This transfer agreement has significant flaws." I looked at the agreement and indeed found the problem. We were both too young then and lacked legal awareness. This agreement had never gone through proper legal procedure. In other words, from a legal perspective, you are still the controlling shareholder of the company. So now I can reclaim your shares at any time or sell them directly to someone else. A hint of sinus flashed in Mr. Miller's eyes. "I have a friend who has always wanted to acquire your company. The price will definitely satisfy you." I thought of Marcus' triumphant demeanor and how he treated me as a tool to be trampled on. At will my rage finally ignited. "Mr. Miller, I'd like to meet your friend." That afternoon, I met Mr. David, Mr. Miller's friend, in my hospital room. He was a well-known investor in the industry, specializing in hostile takeovers. "Miss Grace, I'm very interested in your company." Mr. David got straight to the point. "I can acquire your shares at 1-2 times the market price. I have only one condition." I looked at him. "I want you to immediately terminate the employment of Marcus and Luna once the acquisition is complete." "No problem." Mr. David smiled brightly. "I enjoy working with intelligent women the most." Just as we were negotiating, The hospital room door was pushed open. Marcus rushed and dusty, and disheveled with Luna following. Behind him, Grace. What on earth are you doing? He saw Mr. David and his face immediately fell. What do you want, Mr. Marcus? We meet again. Mr. David stood up. Last time you rejected my proposal for the acquisition of your company, didn't you? Now it seems your consent isn't required. Marcus's face instantly went pale. Are you insane? He pointed at me. Grace, do you know what you're doing? You're going to destroy our company. My company? I corrected him from a legal perspective. It's my company. Luna hid behind Marcus and whispered, Marcus, she's retaliating. Against you. Retaliating? I scoffed. This is called taking back what belongs to me. Marcus suddenly lunged forward, trying to snatch the documents from Mr. David's hand, but David's bodyguard was faster, pinning Marcus to the floor. 6. You can't do this. Marcus struggled. This is my company, my life's work. Your life's work. I sat up in bed. Then what about all my contributions over the years? Who invested their life savings in you back then? Who stayed up until the middle of the night with you, pulling all-nighters, designing plans? Who gave up my own future for your career? Marcus was rendered speechless. Now you're scared. I looked at his degraded state, feeling a surge of satisfaction. When you pushed me down the stairs, why didn't you think about a day like this? Seeing the situation was unfavorable, Luna suddenly knelt at my bedside. Grace, I know I was wrong. Tears streaming down her face, she cried, I shouldn't have seduced Marcus. I'm willing to leave. Please don't destroy him. Now you know to call me Grace. I looked at her affected display. Weren't you just calling me a bastard? I was confused for a moment. Get up. My voice was cold. Your tears mean nothing to me. David watched the farce with interest. Ms. Grace, do you want us to step out so you can talk? No. I looked at Marcus. We have nothing left to discuss. Mr. Miller produced the divorce papers. Marcus, sign them. I won't sign. Marcus struggled to his feet. Grace, don't take this too far. Too far? I smiled. I haven't even started yet. I picked up the phone from the bedside table and turned on the recording function. Marcus, do you remember what you said to me 3 days ago? You said the baby in my belly was a bastard, and you said you would throw me out with the trash. Do you remember? Marcus's face completely changed. I think the media would be very interested in these recordings. I looked at him. How a successful entrepreneur treats his pregnant wife. You wouldn't dare. What is there for me to fear? I looked at his terrified expression, feeling an unprecedented exhilaration. I have nothing left to lose anyway. What else is there to be afraid of? Seeing that the situation was unfavorable, Luna tried to sneak away but was stopped by Mr. David's bodyguards. Miss Luna, you can't leave either, Mr. David said with a smile. I heard you embezzled company funds. I didn't. Luna shrieked. I invested according to the instructions of the exclusive program. Exclusive program? Mr. David looked at me. What is that? A scam. I explained. She wrote the notes herself, faked a selection process, and then had the company invest in the P row she designated. Does that count as insider trading, Mr. David asked Mr. Miller. Absolutely. Mr. Miller nodded. And it's a substantial amount, enough to warrant a prison sentence. Upon hearing prison sentence, Luna's legs gave out and she collapsed onto the floor. And no, that's not how it was. She stammered. Marcus told me to do it. I didn't know anything. Shut up, Marcus roared. Are you out of your mind? I'm not. Luna's eyes were red too. It's all over anyway, so why should I bear the burden alone? Watching them turned on each other, a wave of satisfaction washed over me. All right, the show's over, I said to Mr. David. Let's sign the agreement. Wait. Marcus suddenly rushed over. Grace, I don't want a divorce. I still love you. Let's make things work between us. Please don't ruin me. Now you're begging me. I looked at him. Too late. I signed my name on the acquisition agreement. In that moment, I felt a sense of liberation I had never experienced before. The day after the acquisition was finalized, I was discharged from the hospital. Mr. David was true to his word. Marcus and Luna were immediately terminated. Not only that, he also reported Luna's illegal activities to the relevant authorities. I didn't return to the contaminated villa. Instead, I moved into an apartment in the city center. That afternoon, Sarah came to see me, bringing a pile of get-well gifts. Grace, how are you feeling now? 7 better than ever, I said, leaning back on the Sofa, I finally understand what liberation feels like. That's good. Sarah said, sitting beside me. My brother said the acquisition funds have already been deposited. I nodded. Overnight, I transformed from a woman abandoned by her husband into a multimillionaire. Oh, by the way, did you know? Sarah said mysteriously, Marcus has lost his mind. Lost his mind. My friend works at their company and said he smashed up the entire office yesterday, Sarah said with a hint of shat on Fred. I heard he even went to the bank for a loan trying to buy the company back. Where would he get the money? He mortgaged that villa. Sarah pursed her lips, but when the bank checked, they found that you were the legal owner of the house. I remembered when we bought the house, Marcus had said it was for tax purposes, so it was put in my name, so now he can't borrow a single cent. Sarah clapped her hands in delight. Now he doesn't even have a home and has to rent a place. What about Luna? Even worse. Sarah's expression turned serious. She's been arrested that fast. Mr. David works quickly. He has a professional team. Sarah and the evidence against her is conclusive. She embezzled a massive amount of funds. Oh, one more thing, Sarah said, watching me carefully. Marcus wants to see you. See me? He said he has something important to tell you. I thought for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll see him the next day. I met Marcus at a coffee shop. In just one day, he seemed to have aged 10 years. His once neat hair was messy, his eyes were bloodshot, and his chin was covered in stubble. Grace, he said, and a complex emotion flickered in his eyes when he saw me. Get to the point. What do you want? I got straight to the point. I want to ask you something. His voice was low. Can you not press charges against Luna? I almost laughed out loud. Are you kidding me? I know you hate me. But Luna, she paused. She's still young and naive. I looked at him. Marcus, you are truly blindly deluded. Grace, I'm begging you. He suddenly stood up. I can kneel for you. No need. I waved my hand. I'm not interested in your knees. Then what do you want? He asked desperately. Anything? Anything to save Luna. Anything? I looked at him with a half smile. Even die? He paused, then nodded. Even die? I looked at his serious face, and a wave of sadness washed over me. Marcus, you truly disgust me. I stood up. You're willing to give up your life for an outsider, but what did you do for me back then? Grace, you weren't even willing to say a word for me. I cut him off. I was carrying your child, and you pushed me down the stairs, yet you never even apologized. I'm sorry, he said suddenly. I know I was wrong. Now you know you were wrong. I scoffed. Too late. I turned to leave, but he suddenly grabbed my hand. Grace, can't we start over? He pleaded. I swear I'll never again let go. I looked at him. Don't make me call security. He slowly released my hand, his eyes filled with despair. Grace, are you really showing no mercy? Mercy? I turned back to him. Marcus, do you deserve any? With that, I walked away without looking back. His heart-wrenching cries echoed behind me. Grace, Grace. I didn't turn around. As I left the coffee shop, I received a call from Mr. Miller. Grace, I have good news. What good news? Luna was beaten by other inmates in the detention center. I paused. 8. Is it serious? A broken nose and a mild concussion. Mr. Miller's voice held a hint of shock and Freda. I heard it's because she was still acting innocent in there, and the other female inmates couldn't stand her. I see. My voice was calm. And one more piece of news, Mr. Miller continued. Marcus' company has officially gone bankrupt to save the company. He mortgaged everything he could and borrowed every penny possible. Now the cash flow has broken down and creditors are all demanding repayment. I was silent for a moment. How is he now? As far as I know, he's gone into hiding, Mr. Miller said. Since the creditors can't find him, they're going after his relatives and friends. Does he have any relatives left? He has a younger brother abroad who supposedly cut ties with him. I thought of Marcus's younger brother. He was even a groomsman at our wedding. Any other news? That's all for now, Mr. Miller sighed. Due and the divorce proceedings are finalized. You're free. Now, hanging up the phone, I stood on the street watching the crowds past. By free, it had been too long since I had heard those two words. A month later, I received unexpected news. Luna committed suicide in the detention center. Sarah heard it from her friend, whose husband was a police officer. I heard she committed suicide by hanging. Sarah watched my expression carefully, with a noose made from twisted bed sheets. My hand froze midair, the liquid in my coffee cup trembling slightly. Why? They say it's because she was severely bullied in there, Sarah explained. You know those female inmates couldn't stand her acting. Innocent someone tormented her every day. And she had a mental breakdown. I put down my coffee cup, my emotions calm. Although I hated her, hearing about her death didn't bring me as much joy as I had imagined. Grace, are you all right? Sarah asked worriedly. I'm fine. I shook my head. I just feel a little what? Empty, I said. Truthfully, I thought I'd be happy, but I'm not. That's normal, Sarah patted my shoulder. You're not a ruthless person. Maybe. Sarah held my hand. Grace, the past is behind you. What you need to do now is live your own life. Well, I know. I nodded. I will, but I knew it was easier said than done. That night, I was watching TV alone at home. When I suddenly heard the doorbell ring, I walked to the door and saw a familiar figure through the peephole. Marcus. He stood outside the door, dressed in rags, his hair disheveled, looking like a madman. Grace, I know you're in there, he said to the door. Open up. I need to talk to you. I didn't open the door. Grace, Luna's dead. His voice was mournful. She's dead, and it's all my fault if I hadn't brought her to the company back then. If I hadn't, he began to mutter to himself, his voice growing fainter. I watched him through the peephole. He was squatting by the door, lurching his head and sobbing. Grace, I regret it, he cried. I truly regret it. I shouldn't have treated you like that. I shouldn't have pushed you down the stairs. I shouldn't have. His words reminded me of that night, of the child I lost, and of that agonizing pain. Grace, please open the door. Won't you? He knocked. I'm begging you. I didn't open the door. He stayed outside the door all night, not leaving until the next morning. From that day on, he came every day. Sometimes he would bring flowers, sometimes he would bring pastries I loved, but I never opened the door. A week later, the building management contacted me. Ms. Grace, that man has been loitering by your door, disturbing the other residents. The building manager said, could you please? I understand. I nodded. I'll handle it. That evening, I finally opened the door. 9. Marcus saw me, and a flicker of surprise appeared in his eyes. Grace, you finally agreed to see me. I just don't want to affect anyone else, I said coldly. Say what you need to say, then leave. I want to apologize to you, he said. I know I've done a lot of wrong things, and I want to make amends. Make amends? I scoffed. With what? I can kneel for you, he said, and he actually knelt. I can give you my all, serve you like a slave as long as you forgive me. I looked at him kneeling on the ground, feeling no ripple in my heart. Marcus, do you know something? I looked at him. The way you are right now, it disgusts me. I for you could abandon all pretense and dignity. I interrupted him. But for me, you were unwilling to give anything. No, Grace, I'm now scoff. Now that you have nothing, you suddenly remember how good I was to you. If hadn't died, if your company hadn't gone bankrupt, would you have come begging me? My question rendered him speechless. Grace, I truly know I was wrong, he pleaded. Can we start over? Start over? I looked at him. Marcus, do you deserve it? After saying that, I slammed the door shut. His heart-wrenching sobs echoed from outside the door. Grace, I'm begging you. I leaned against the door, listening to the sounds outside, my heart unwavering. Some people, some things once missed are simply missed. Some hurts will never be forgiven. The next day, I heard that Marcus had jumped off a building. He had jumped from the roof of the building I lived in. He was dead. When I heard the news, I was in the office handling matters for the new company. After David reintegrated the original company, he invited me to be vice president. Grace, are you all right? The secretary asked worriedly. I'm fine, I said, putting down my phone. Let's get back to work. But I knew I wasn't as calm as I appeared. After work, I went to the place where Marcus had jumped. It had already been cleaned, with only some dark red stains remaining on the ground. Standing there, I remembered when we first met back then. He was a spirited young man, his eyes full of aspirations for the future. We struggled together, pulled all-nighters together, and celebrated small successes together. At that time, I thought we would continue like that forever, but I was wrong. People change. Grace, I turned around and saw Sarah walking. What are you doing here? I wanted to see, I said. See what? See the ending. Sarah was silent for a moment. Do you regret it? No. Regrets? I shook my head. They hurt me, so they should bear the consequences. How do you feel now then? Empty. I answered truthfully. I thought revenge would make me happy, but it didn't. That's normal. Sarah comforted me. Revenge never brings true happiness. I know. I nodded, but I don't regret it. Good. Then Sarah took my hand. Come on, let's go home. I took one last look at the spot the bloodstains had been. Cleaned, leaving only faint traces. Sarah held my hand. Come on, let's go. Home. I followed her my steps. Surprisingly, League HT 6 months later. I moved to a coastal city. My new company's business was booming and I was busy from morning till night. My colleagues all said I was a workaholic, but only I knew that being busy was the best antidote. Mr. David often joked that I was the most ruthless woman he'd ever met, having destroyed my ex-husband's entire life overnight. I always smiled but never answered. Some scores always need settling on evening. I was working overtime in my office when the secretary knocked and came in. Ms. Grace, there's a girl who says she needs to see you. Says, you know her? I looked up and saw a girl of 17 or 18. Standing at the door. She looked a lot like Luna but was much more youthful. Hello, I'm Luna's sister, Sky. My hands froze on the keyboard. My sister died, and my parents got divorced because of it. Her voice was calm. I want to ask you, do you think it was worth it to retaliate against my sister like this? I looked at her, an inexplicable wave of irritation rising within me. Why are you here? I want to apologize for my sister. She suddenly knelt. She did wrong, but she's dead now. Can you forgive her? I stood up and looked down at her. Forgive? I can give you my all. Serve you like a slave as long as you can. Forgive my sister. That sentence reminded me of Marcus and how he had knelt at my door. Get up. My voice was cold. What happened with your sister has nothing to do with you. It does. She suddenly burst out. If it weren't for you, my sister wouldn't have died. If it weren't for you, our family wouldn't have fallen apart. Watching her angry outburst, I surprisingly felt a little amused. Do you know what your sister did? I know, but she stole my husband, lived in my house, and caused the death of my child. I interrupted her. Her death was what she deserved. Sky's face instantly turned pale. Are you really that ruthless? Ruthless? I scoffed. Then why didn't you say ruthless when your SI seduced a married man? My sister, she just loved the wrong person. Loved the wrong person. I found that excuse ridiculous. So she could just do whatever she wanted. Sky bit her lip, tears streaming down her face. You've already retaliated against her. Why do you still speak of her like this? Because I'm speaking the truth. She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to sue you. Sue me for what? I squatted down. She cried even harder. Why are you doing this to our family? Because your sister did this to me first. I stood up. Go home. Don't let me see you again. She ran out crying. I returned to my desk and continued working on the documents. My phone rang. It was Sarah calling. Grace, there was a girl crying downstairs just now, saying she was looking for you. I know it's been handled. Who was she? Luna's sister. Sarah was silent for a moment. Are you all right? I'm fine. I looked at the night view outside the window. My mood surprisingly calm. It turned out I wasn't as kind as I thought. It turned out I could be this cold-blooded, but I had no regrets because I knew this was who I was now. A woman who had been hurt, a woman who had learned to protect herself. I would never let anyone hurt me again. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your views and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next.